Hello, welcome everyone. We're glad you could join us and that your energy level and excitement are keeping you engaged here in our final hours of an amazing experience. And I don't know. Thank you, Vicki. Ann Parsons, who will introduce herself, and I am Clarissa Seglio. I'm a public historian who works in the first half of the 20th century. As a public historian, I collaborate with museums, libraries, archives, and communities on digital works, but also analog works. My other hat is director of Greenhouse Studios, a research unit at the University of Connecticut in the United States, where I do my teaching and collaborating. We do grant-funded research work in the digital and hybrid space, asking questions of how this technology can empower academics in particular to help communities engage with histories in order to engage, educate, and empower. But not always, as you'll see with this case, this is not an educational game. It is a game through which self-directed learners will get educated, but the context as I talk about this headset-based VR history quest is twofold. University of North Carolina, Greensboro, where Ann is going to now introduce herself as being from before I keep steamrolling, perhaps.
I'm Ann Parsons, and I'm Director of Public History at UNC Greensboro, where I direct a History of Museum Studies program. For many years, I've been a museum curator, or curator in museum exhibitions. In the last 5 years, have worked on hybrid physical and digital projects. One is care and custody, past responses to mental health with the National Library of Medicine, both an online exhibit and traveling exhibit. And then the educational resource in North Carolina schools, Roots of Resistance, which is a hybrid physical and digital exhibit for classrooms on the Chechen uprising. So that's me.
Right. So we and our colleagues who are at both universities, I'm going to say I am not a game developer. I only play one at conferences when my colleague Ken Thompson, who is the co-initiator with me of this vision, and we're so glad to have Ann and the UNCG team on board now too. He worked in industry, Captain America, Madagascar, big titles. He came into academia, and as a descendant of survivors, he wanted to turn his game talents to serious games. And so as research universities that teach, we are building this VR headset-based history quest completely in-house. We are not working with an outside XR creative boutique. Why? We are interested in thinking through tinkering, and you may have heard of thinkering. The fancier name for that is critical making. We want to understand, as scholars working with the Holocaust, scholars working with difficult and important histories, from the inside, how the process, particularly for museum-based and university-based scholars and academics, of working on these types of projects, what it looks like to be a collaborator with people who don't speak your language and you don't speak theirs. We're going to be releasing blog posts about process so you can learn how the sausage is made, so to speak. And along that way, we do a lot of iterative testing and development. Where did the Beyond Nuremberg idea come from, and who is it for? At the University of Connecticut, we have the International Military Tribunal papers of Thomas J. Dodd, a prosecutor at the major war crimes trial in 1945-46. They're digital, they're word searchable. When I met Ken and he told me in Unity VR, he could take what we normally would look at, a digital surrogate. If it's a postcard, you have two digital images. Here's the front and here's the back. And he said, I can build a software that we can make open access and freely available that will dynamically pull that digital object and its archival metadata into Unity, impose it on a template so that in my 3D environment, I hold it like a postcard. It has the thickness of the postcard, and it is not a drawing of the primary source. It is the digital surrogate from the repository that owns it. That's the technical wow that got me started on this. And then the next question, as we did our research photogrammetry at Courtroom 600 at the Palace of Justice in Nuremberg, in the State Archives, with our colleagues at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, doing 3D photogrammetry of objects, became, how do we tell a story that begins in the trial but is not perpetrator-centered? Because who's at the center? The defendants, the perpetrators. And those aren't the stories we're interested in. We're interested in their crimes and how their crimes impact lived reality for specific people, and, as Anne will talk about, a specific community of people that was destroyed by the policies that were interrogated and exposed at Nuremberg. The humanities themes, and in the game world, we would call these the game design pillars. Did anyone go to Hamid's game design workshop? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. These are our touchstones, the ethical and moral obligations that we want to communicate to those who experience this, and how we make our decisions about what to include. Holocaust history is not static. There are still resources we haven't looked at or translated, stories we haven't heard, areas that are under study. We wanted to focus on Jewish resistance, women's contributions to understanding both the critical history of the major and subsequent Nuremberg trials, as well as the community impacts. Because the trial is about policies, systems, the judicial system, the press, the industrial system, and the bureaucracy, we wanted to show that the dehumanization, which fostered and perpetuated anti-Semitism and other forms of racism, is actually, as one scholar called it, an extreme act of civilization, because the legal, media, judicial, and other civilized institutions are mobilized to perpetuate the crimes against humanity. And we want to instill the fact that the work of seeking justice and seeking truth is ongoing. It didn't end with the Nuremberg trials. It doesn't end today. Again, if you've gained some familiarity with gameplay, what do we want our informal learner? We are at this point targeting 18 to 35 plus and continuously aging gamers who came in as children, who are fascinated by complex narratives and stories, problem solving, and come back repeatedly to an experience. The 18 to 37 age group roughly 4 years ago was 67% of the huge game market in the United States, and globally. I can get those figures if you're interested. We wanted to bring people back to the material artifacts of various ages, right? Is it something that was presented at the trial? Is it something from Tuchin in 1942, the year of the uprising and the massacre? Is it an oral history that wasn't created until 1975? In the game, the players will encounter actual primary sources, we call them objects with clues, and they will travel through time and space. They will find objects that aren't always immediately visible in the space. They will be able to discern some basic information about them. We're essentially using the historian's tools. Here's a photograph. What kind of photograph is it? Portrait, action, group? How do historians make sense of sources? Moving image, audio, poster, cartoon, court document. So the discern engages them in a Q&A query path there. Then they're able to collect it and unlock context. And through collecting multiple objects, they unlock bigger stories. And then they move on to another time and place, and the stories begin to connect. What we want to do is introduce these basic methods of historical inquiry, but we're not calling that for the informal learners. We want them to become familiar with primary sources, and we want to foster critical thinking, because in our age of disinformation, sources, the skill to interrogate a source, a photograph, and ask questions of it is one that we all need as a form of critical and digital literacy. We're working with templates established by the Library of Congress and National Archives that teachers use in the classroom with young students to guide them through how do you ask questions and make meaning from a primary source with no context before you go get your context. The human stories are at the center. The clues are coming from those human stories and unlocking as rewards, if you will, deeper human stories. And consistent with the story types that we are highlighting, where the connection to Anne comes in, as I looked for, and we're focusing on the prosecution of Alfred Rosenberg, in charge of the occupied Eastern Territories, and specifically the Ukraine, where his henchman subordinate Eric Koch is leading the implementation. Data from our colleagues at the Claims Conference has shown the lack of awareness of Holocaust history. Oh, Ronald Reagan was president during World War II. Inability to name a concentration camp, and we felt that the Holocaust by bullets is even less well known. And that's why we focused on that perpetrator, his policies, and the people of that region beyond the courtroom. As I looked and found a connection between Alfred Rosenberg and Herman Weichmann, a resistor and survivor from Tuchin, I said, well, who's researching Tuchin? I've never heard of this place. And I learned of one of the very few people, Ann Parsons, and we met at a conference such as this, and hence a new relationship began. Ann.
So I myself separately have been working on Tuchin, and I'll just say briefly that Alfred Rosenberg was in charge of the Ukraine district, which is, for the most part, had been part of the Holocaust by bullets, which is thousands of sites where Jews were massacred outside of their towns beginning in 1941. One of those towns, an ordinary town, was Tuchin. In 1941, it became an open ghetto, and then 1942, it became a closed ghetto. There were textile factories there, and on Yom Kippur, 1942, the Germans came to liquidate the ghetto. And the Jews had gathered gasoline and some arms, and a group of men fought back when they came. It's one of the first uprisings in the Holocaust, Jewish uprisings in the Holocaust, and ultimately it became a suicide mission with about 69 Jews surviving of about 3,000 in the town. A few of those who perished were my great-grandparents' relatives, including Aryeh Glazer and his wife Yitta, who were in their 80s, their children and grandchildren. For me, I felt a calling to help tell this story and remember this place. And in working with Ukrainian colleagues and colleagues in France and Israel, we've built a connection to the place that has ruptured with with the war in Ukraine. So for me, the opportunity to start working on a virtual reality experience has felt quite powerful, or a video game or where we're recreating the space, some of the spaces there, because it's a way for us to be in touch with what's happening there in a place that's become incredibly inaccessible. I pull up this slide on the screen to describe the work that I bring as a curator is both research and it is also a commitment to engagement and emotional responsiveness. The exhibit that we had created, Roots of Resistance, was a learning experience for students, but we really brought in nature and interactivity so that it was something that was not traumatizing in and of itself and led to emotional processing. I'm now joining, along with two game developers at UNCG, the project on of Beyond Nuremberg. And one of the reasons it's felt particularly kismet is because UNC Greensboro has just created in recent years an esports and video game major and minor, and are now in partnership with Epic Games and have become an Epic game affiliate. And so that's really kind of given us the resources to explore how can we do Holocaust history in video game environments. There are two parts of the Beyond Nuremberg pieces, game that we're working on. One space, if we think about it in spaces, one space that's been created is the Nuremberg courtroom. We're also creating a factory in Tuchin in 1942, and then a monument space in Tuchin. This photo at the top shows a former factory, most likely the Gross factory, which is what the Tuchin team had wanted to recreate. This photo actually comes from a trip that survivors took. It was from their home videos and home pictures. I'm in relationship with survivors and their families, so we were able to actually find that factory today, and we just had a photographer out there doing photogrammetry of the site a few weeks ago, so we're able to work with Ukrainian photographers to take pictures. We're then going to bring the elements of the actual building of the textile factory used in the 1940s to inform the space as we continue to edit it. The second space that we're working on recreating, and this is literally our game developers have just started in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So this is just completely in motion as we're working on it. But the power of bringing the Tuchin monument in here is as we think about Rosenberg and the defendants and their impact, this was a community that was almost entirely decimated except for the 69 lives. And so how can we bring in reflection into this space, into the experience? Our hope is to have the monument space be somewhat of learning, but also of reflection. The monument itself has stories on the front and back of people, of what happened in Tuchin, and so our hope is that they can read the monument, but it's also creating more of a piece of memorialization that goes along with learning and curiosity. These are the recent, just a few of the many, many, many photogrammetry pieces, and I'll just share it here, that what was touching in seeing the photographs, which is the monument that was built by survivors about 14 years ago. You can see the back and then the front, and this is what our game developers are working on recreating right now. What was so incredible is that these photos were taken about 3 weeks ago. There are no Jewish descendants living in Tuchin right now. We expected, some of the survivors, relatives and I had expected it to be totally overgrown and in disrepair, but actually it's in quite good shape. And we think that really people in that community have been treating it with respect. So our hope is to actually continue to have it live virtually and be a place that can be accessible. We are sharing this with you right now for feedback, and it's very much in media res, in the middle of things like working, but the idea is that we are getting your feedback. You'll see some of the text that's in there. We realize that it doesn't you know, it might not look good or might not whatever, but our hope is that you're getting a sense of some of the stories, some of the content that's in there. And as we are at that pre-production, conceptual, prototype, we're kind of toggling between conceptual and prototype phase, definitely conceptual. The idea is really to hear what resonates with you, what doesn't, as we continue. So that's it.
What I'd like to add is that learning by making and then sharing with our communities is that it's also, some of the questions are the persistent questions of Holocaust mediation in any media. But we are attentive to the particular ways in which virtual reality deals with those same questions in a space where embodiment in terms of proximity, in terms of being elsewhere. What will time travel in a quest environment mean for historical understanding? So we're doing when I get you in the headset, you others who are not in the headset will see it on the screen. What you see is not what you will get. As Anne said, we're doing quick builds of small ideas. Vicki knows we've been doing this for a while. We met with scholars from internationally specialized specialists in legal history, Holocaust history, IMT history, United States Holocaust Memorial Museum colleagues that we continue to work with, as well as colleagues at the Nuremberg Trials Museum in Nuremberg. And we got critical feedback. We pushed it. We're faculty. This is what we do in between teaching, advising students, and when we don't get the grant, we slow down. But I see now, meaning Kismet, coming together as a new team is really productively bringing us backward. And so I'm excited to show you what we have today. What I am going to do is, if you want to learn more than we were able to tell you now, please go to our website. We have some handouts for you, whether you're going to play or you're watching. Take notes. See what you observe. What do you feel? What do you think? We don't care. We want your unfiltered feedback. And there is a quick survey that we would encourage you to consider filling out, if not after this session, later at your leisure. While I get the headset going, Anne will give out those headsets. I'm going to take you first to the Nuremberg, the Tuchen Memorial Space. That is the last photo that you saw from Anne. And that will give me an opportunity to introduce you to some basic mechanics, because this is not a true play test where we can let you explore for over an hour. Let's see, I need to make this full window. How do I do that on this? Vicki, how do I, with this computer, make it the window full? I feel like, oh, green. Yeah, sorry, I'm not a Mac. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Give me a sec while I set up the live screen. Feel free to click on those links. When we first started our builds a few years ago, we were working with HTC Vive, and now we're moving over to Quest 3. In terms of distribution platforms, we're looking at things like Steam VR further down the road, and whatever else is new at that time. Ooh, success. I don't know if there's a way to make that window full screen, but we're just going to roll with this in the interest of time. So, I'm setting my boundary. It's a very small boundary because we want to keep you safe. You'll know that you've gone out of the boundary when you start seeing the room. We'll be keeping an eye on you. Also, you can move with your controllers, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's watch the opening sequence. Again, rough cut. Oh, is the sound playing? No. Okay, let's hold on. Now's a great time to take any preliminary questions you might have.
How long have you been working on this?
We started kicking around the idea in 2019. At that time, our initial conception, because we were working solely with the Dodd papers at that time and kind of the technical capability to bring primary sources as themselves into the Unity game space. So we did a lot of technical work, but we were also, I'm new to game, Ken's got the background, I'm a historian, I am a storyteller from other careers prior to coming into academia. We started out very courtroom centric. And with our design charrette, with some of the people I mentioned earlier, and I'm happy to tell you who else was involved, we were always uncomfortable. Trials center the defendant. We don't want to center the perpetrator's story. The trial, you can watch it on YouTube, right, if you really want to watch some trial proceedings. But there are interesting stories to tell about the role of Jewish refugees, of women, and about the policies. So, great question, but we've really gone in fits and starts, and I feel like we're starting with existing platform, but brand new. All right, fine.
Yeah, but do you also contextualize that in that way? Because you take a little...
I'm going to say this for later, just so we want to get people in the headset. So I'm sorry to shortcut you.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to get out.
We
So I
are
want to hear
those
you.
who perished. We are those who sought justice.
Okay. Again. Rough cut. This is not a professional narrator. This is Ken.
We are the survivors. We are the resistors. We are those who perished. We are those who sought justice. We demand truth. We are the descendants, the generations who came after, the ones who remember those who survived, who resisted, who perished, those who sought justice. We demand truth, the truth found in the stories, the documents, the photos, locked in the things of the past. Will you be the one to unlock these stories, learn these truths? Begin your investigation by pushing a button on the globe. One goes to Nuremberg, Germany, the other to Ukraine.
To move, click the controller, side button. When you're in a space, you can move in different ways. But the way that you'll be encouraged to investigate the sources that you see is to summon the globe if you want to go somewhere else. And this special magnifying glass. By clicking at it, you grab it. The preliminary action we're testing to unlock clues, whoops, I just stepped out of bounds, is to wave the magnifying glass over the clue. You can see the progress bar. And in this case, we just have some very basic translation of the words on the monument. As Amy mentioned, this was just built, what, 2 weeks ago?
In the last like week, but yeah, over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've had photos of the monument.
All right. So, what I'm going to do at this point, after I clean the headset, is Lexi, I had given you the heads up. Lexi has never played this or been in this experience before, but she has volunteered to be a first tester, and we'll have time for a second tester, and I'll let you elect yourself. All right, so your first task will be to move to either one of the two spaces that we didn't visit yet. Put on the headset, you'll see when you're in the boundary. You will hear, feel free to talk, but you're going to hear your voice in the headset and in the audio, so it's a little frustrating. Take your time. To answer your question very quickly, context is given when each individual source is unlocked, but then larger context will happen when a whole set of objects in a single space is brought together. And we can return to that.
I don't understand what that means.
We'll get it. Sorry, we want to have time for the playtest, but I can. We can elaborate. If you. Yep.
The trigger.
Yep. Yep. Click the trigger. Should be both. There you go. Feel free to look around, turn around.
Older fear that it's the right thing he was the guy, he was the light.
If it makes you feel sick, just look down.
So let me encourage you to look in the environment for an object.
Okay, cool.
They're flat. That's big.
Yeah, see if you can pick that up. Oh, that's a dummy one.
It's an object.
Okay, yeah, here we go. Look for another one.
Okay.
Another one. Nope, you're not doing anything wrong. You're exploring. There you go.
Oh. Okay. Nope. Okay.
And see if you can find one more object, and then we'll have you find
money.
See if you can get that magnifying glass. So hold that.
Right.
Yep.
How did we?
So once you've grabbed it, keep your finger down on the controller here. And now with your other one, go see if you can summon that magnifying glass. That's okay. Aha. Yes, there you go. Yep.
Let it go. Let it fall.
You can let it go.
Nope. Oh, no, take it.
Try for one more object, and then we're going to. It's a flat one. Go back to the other side. Yeah, maybe go to one. Let's see.
Not that one.
Try that one. Yep. Nope. That one.
I thought I threw this one.
Nope. Try it again. Now use your magnifier.
Oh.
See, can you see? Pick up the object in front of your face. And yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm not trying to read it like a nerd.
All right.
Oh, what is it? Is that a key card? Oh.
So you know what? Go ahead and drop that object. Turn toward me so I can be sure you're not. There you go.
Thank you.
Look at that there. So what do you think that was? You behind it? Yep.
This.
Yeah. What do you think it was you just picked up? Or be a deviant player and pick the wrong question.
It was definitely a map.
Okay, now rotate a little to your. You're good. Rotate your vision over to the right. To your right. Rotate your vision, not yeah. Look down. Where's my Ken? Where'd you put it? All right. There's actually text. Sorry, that's just me. Oh, go over. No. Oh, maybe we have to hold the card for it to come up. All right.
Oh.
Cool. Let's try it again. Now look over to your, you pick text document. Look over toward the blue figure. Yeah. Huh. Normally, all right, this is good to know. No, you didn't break anything. Remember, this is a quick and dirty build. Ah, there you go. Are there any landmarks or spatial relationships, things common to maps? And so if you chose map, you get some instructive, so this looks important, what is it? And then you can click, what is it? I'm not. Look for the answer, look over to the right. I guess, okay. So we're learning some things there. Yeah, okay, we're back at the beginning of this sequence. Should we, yeah, so I'm gonna invite you to take off the headset. Thank you. Now the space looks flatter on the screen than it will in VR. We'd like to take some questions now and then we'll get a second person to go into a different space. What are we trying to do? What the hell was going on there? Any kind of question you'd like to ask. I'm sorry, in the way.
First of all, thank you for actually showing a prototype and not a perfect version, because this is really insightful and just how labor intense this process is, and showing true VR and just how much it takes to really create an interactive experience. I was wondering, so the courtroom is like a drawing, like an artistic artwork. Are you planning to do something similar for the Tuchin space, or will that look like completely different? Or
right now they look different,
yeah.
And we're also at that early stage where we will do some feedback on aesthetic treatments. We've done 3D photogrammetry of the courtroom as it is today, which means it was restored to what it looked like before the Nuremberg trials, because it was refitted to be a theater at the time, using blueprints from Dan Kiley, who did that reconstruction. We can tell the story of how it was reconstructed. So we have models that look like the real space. We have versions with lighter aesthetics that are more realistic. Here we're playing around with the many courtroom artists. And what does it look like? So you know you're in the past. So that's an aesthetic design decision, but every design is based on historical information. And what you're going to see in the factory space is this kind of gray boxes right now, okay? But what everything looks like at the end, we're not there yet. But again, iterative feedback, and through our blogs, sharing what we're learning in the process, because we all need to know more about this. I didn't know anything about this 3 years ago.
was actually, like, this is a great opportunity with getting any feedback here on the spaces, a space that's more, that would be more realistic, or a space that's artistic. So anyway, feedback around the spaces are actually helpful. Actually, that is that's a question now. Is there any reactions or to that? Yeah.
So, a general feeling, I did a few VR experiences in the last month, and I always have the feeling, if it's some kind of an artistic approach, I think it's way more easy to get into it than it's when it's like a photorealistic approach. So I really like this idea of doing like a more artistic approach, because I think this idea of the uncanny valley with people, like made by AI, this also is very true, I think, for VR experiences. So when you try to make it look really realistic, it doesn't work. So this, I think, most of the time works much better. And I think this is a really nice idea of how to show the number.
Oh, sorry, went back a step. How are we doing on time?
We've got 15 minutes.
Let's get one more person. We have one more space. Maybe find one object. It won't be as complicated. The query path that we're testing out here requires more time. There is no query path in our last space. Do I have a volunteer as I clean the headset and controllers? Nobody?
I'm afraid I had too much VR already.
I hear you. I hear
take
you.
it, like headache-wise.
No volunteers? I don't want to force anyone.
All
You
right.
curious? Come on down,
I see
Rachel.
him looking at me.
He was the guy. He was the light. Then
Great, you found an object, and if you get that, oh wait, oh this is interesting, we're getting a courtroom object in Tuchin. A bug, I love it.
No, I think it was intentional, yeah.
Okay. Something else?
Ah, yeah. Now let's get that magnifying glass. Turn around, and then remember, if you don't see it, how you can summon it up. Go over, keep rotating.
The other thing I should say is that when you get in
There,
headset,
can you
it's
see
a
it in the
very
background
different
behind that
experience
door?
than on the screen.
There
You
you
know
go.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it really
Now
is
let's,
quite immersive.
yep. Hold that clicker, don't let go.
Okay.
Now,
Do I get it?
put the, yep, point, and then hold this clicker. All right, we got a little buggy feature in here. Go ahead, try again. All right. I'm gonna quick reboot for you, because I can see we've got a little buggy thing going on here. Yeah. Oh, there you go. See if you can wave it over your object.
I don't know where they are.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, there's one. Try that one. Still got your magnifying glass? Turn around again toward the globe. It is gone. Double click on those buttons. I showed you the two that you can press with your thumb. There it is. It's tucked away. There you go. All right, now let's wave against that thing. We're just going to unlock this one story, and then we'll, yeah, hold that piece of thing up higher so we can see it. Great, perfect. This is taking a little while. You're doing good. Almost there. Oh, keep going, keep going. Yay, yay. Yep. Aha. Now look at what's in your hand. Look at what's in your hand. Bring it up so we can see it. What's in, thank you. Now let's look at the text. Jewish workers did not receive money. I'm sorry, I can't read it from the right angle.
But merely food for the long hours they worked in the ghetto. One worker, Yona Spilderman, young mother.
in Tuchin in 1942, and her husband had fled to Russia. Yona remembered that there was no bread in the town. I went with my sister to a workshop that belonged to the Kupershin. So she works at the factory. They get bread as rations. This is how they're surviving. Great, so thank you. And so this is a really super compressed play test. Part of the reason we are showing this at a conference of a mixed audience, academics or others who have never worked in this media, the more you understand the iterative process and how things come together, the more critically you can reverse engineer any polished, finished experience you do. We are doing this as research so we can report out on it. And I will end there. What I would like to briefly say is if you wanted to get in the headset, we'll be hanging around after. If you have a Quest 3 at home and you would like us to send you the file and you can put yourself in developer mode and spend some time with it, we'd be happy to walk you through that. This is about quick and dirty feedback informing the next, because the further along you go in the process, the more expensive it is to change things. And learning now, it's not only about money, it's about how meaningful, how difficult it is to your users. If you're not a VR gamer, this is difficult. If you are, like my colleague, this is a piece of cake. And this is rough and raw. What you see is not what you will get. So those are the disclaimers.